hello from outside the MKM Stadium, and what's been a really, really disappointing afternoon for Hull City, beaten 2-0 by Stoke City. And in truth, I don't think anybody that was here could have any complaints that City were full value for their defeat. Right from the start, Stoke were the better side. They never got going, did City. And I've got to be honest, that was as flat as I've seen Liam Rossini all for as long as I can remember. Completely frustrated after the game, admitted that his side were never at it, frankly. And I think the galling thing for him, 3 weeks ago they put in a really good performance here against Leicester, got a deserved 2-2 draw, should have won the game if we're honest. City were probably the better side, obviously saw a penalty saved on that day. They've had 3 weeks to prepare for this game. They knew what Stoke were going to do. They knew how Stoke were going to come, we're going to fight, we're going to scrap, given their position at 19th in the league table. But the trouble was, City didn't match that. They didn't match their work rate. They didn't match their effort. And going forward, they offered absolutely nothing. There was, I think, I said this to Liam just now. I think if you'd have said to somebody before the game, the team has got Zaruri, Carvalho, Philogene, no Ohio in it, the likes of Seri, Slater, Ryan Giles, that team would not have a single shot on target in 90 minutes, 95, 96 minutes as it was, I think you'd have got long odds. I don't think anybody would have had that. And that was how it was, and that kind of summed up. There was almost a moment in the last few minutes where I think Louis Coyle slammed an effort, skewed it from the right side of the penalty box. It hit Carvalho and bounced wide of the post. And I can't, that was scruffy. That moment kind of summed up what was there's off days, and then there was what that was. And the frustrating thing is it's another home game where, the crowd have turned out, they've got behind them, completely sold out, 24,600 and whatever it was. I think there was 4 people less than there were against Leicester in the official attendance. The fans have turned up and the team just have not performed. And could be terminal. We've got 8 games to go. I think I'd guard against any mass overreaction that the season is over, that the playoffs are gone. They aren't. I mean, if you look at the table tonight, it doesn't make for great reading, let's be honest. They've dropped 6 points back. Norwich themselves were a goal down at home to Plymouth, but found a way to come back and win. City haven't done that, and because of that, they're now 6 points adrift of the top 6. The goal difference has increased again. I think it's now 12, which is a point. So let's say that they are 7 points adrift of Norwich. Yes, they have a game in hand. That game is at Coventry, but it's now 5 games without victory. And the momentum the great thing is that they had momentum after that really poor game against Swansea. Really poor against Swansea. A lot of criticism. They responded with 3 wins on the spin. Then they've had 4 draws on the spin. But think back to there was some momentum after the Leicester game because they played so well and they delivered a really high quality performance. It feels like that momentum, that positivity balloon that that's been bubbling around for the last few weeks now popped, and that performance was epitomised that really. It was just from the get go. It doesn't always work out like this, I'll admit, but I often think you can kind of get a feel for a performance in the first 5 minutes. And I on these videos, and I apologise if I've said it too many times, but after poor performances like this, I often think back to the game at QPR in the end of December. The first minute, they were sloppy. They gave the ball away. There was no intensity. They were slack, and they allowed QPR to gain a foothold in the game, to gain the upper hand, and they never really gained it back. They never recovered from a couple of really poor early passes. And today was a bit like the Swansea game. Today was another one of those games where, from the start, there was a distinct lack of tempo. They allowed Stoke pretty much from the kickoff to get in at them, and that gave Stoke confidence, and Stoke pushed City back. And throughout the first half, if there was ever a team that were going to score, it was going to be Stoke. I think they had 11 attempts on goal 11 attempts in the first half. They only hit the target, I think, with 1 of them. But the fact they had 11 attempts showed there was intent from the away side. There was nothing like that from Hull City. There was no urgency going forward. Everything but the fans have criticised this team for at home at times this season being so pedestrian, so slow, and it was really boring to watch. It was really hard to watch. It was turgid. It was like they were playing in treacle in that first half, and they just didn't create anything. There was one moment where Jaden got the ball on the right side, slammed it across the penalty area, and Noah Ohio, who was in the team for the first time this season from the start, kind of he tried to flick it, and I think if he was fully confident, he'd have gone maybe with the outside of his boot and tried to get a shot away with his foot instead of trying to flick it with the inside of his foot. That was about as good as it got. That was probably the highlight of a really dispiriting first half. But it was 0-0, and you're thinking, right, okay, it's been dour, it's been turgid. It can't be as bad second half. There will be a reaction. Liam will have words to say. The players themselves won't be happy with that. They won't be happy with that level of performance. They'll come out and have a go, and it'll be the proverbial game of two halves. But unfortunately, 10 minutes start of the second half where they pressed a bit. They didn't create anything. They didn't have a single shot on goal. The goalkeeper, Daniel Everson's, had the easiest game of his life. I think he made a save. He made two saves in stoppage time. One was from Abdush, who came off the bench, and then one was from Jaden Finnegan at a really tight angle. Neither of them were actually shots on goal, as daft as it sounds. The Abdush one was like going across the 6-yard box, and he stuck out his leg. And the second one was from Jaden, was on the touchline. I think it was like a cross. He's turned over his crossbar. Jordan, yeah. What I think they struggle with, it's a good question. I think they struggle at home against teams that make it really difficult for them, as daft as it sounds. I think when they go to teams like Southampton, when they play Leicester, because of the way these teams play, they come and play, they come and attack, they come and they play one touch man to man, and I think that plays into City's hands. When you get a team like Stoke who want to go direct and play second balls and get players around the target man, they really struggle. They just is another game against a team at the bottom end of the table that have come and set the stall out, and they just haven't been able to break them down. They just never looked a threat all afternoon, and it seems ridiculous to say that when you've got players like Jaden on the pitch, who I thought was poor again today. I genuinely don't think Philogene delivered for a few weeks now for City, probably since the Southampton game. I think his performances have dropped. I thought Zarori was poor. Spent more time rolling around on the floor than he did doing anything else, which is a real shame because I thought he was great against Leicester, scored a brilliant goal. Again, he had a first few minutes. They played high. He took the knockdown on the edge of the box and then followed it miles over the bar. That was kind of, again, another symbol of just being one of those days. And he wasn't at it. Carvalho saw plenty of it, but not in areas where he could hurt Stoke. And Stoke, you have to give the opposition credit. They've got. We said this before the game. They're in an awful position. They've got good players, and they won at Preston. They gave Leeds a run for their money, and a player sent off and lost. This was never going to be a 4 or 5-0 walkover. This was always going to be a really difficult game against a team that are scrapping for their lives. But for a team like Hull City that are challenging for the playoffs, all the talk is about opportunities. We want to make the most of this chance. We've got a chance to do something special. Well, that performance there, forget it. That performance does not get teams in the playoffs. It was a bad performance, and if it was like I said, you don't want to get too dramatic about it. You don't. With 8 games to go, you can't start writing off seasons. You can't start saying, "Well, that's it, done and dusted. They won't make it." I think they've made their life an awful lot more difficult with a performance like that. They have games to get it to put it right. The worry for me is the form of Coventry, the form of Norwich. Obviously, Preston beat Rotherham, but my little boys could beat Rotherham the way they play. To be fair, so that isn't anything to write home about. But Preston are winning games. Hull City aren't winning games, and that is the concern. Now they've got 2 games away from home. I think everybody would say, right, Leeds off. They're going to get anything there. I'm not so sure. I think Leeds is a game, exactly the type of game they need after that. They've shown at Leicester, they showed at Southampton, they showed here against Leicester that against the better teams, they can turn it on, and they play better when against that quality. Now, against at Ellen Road, we know what the atmosphere is going to be like. We know what's going to come. They've played 19 games this season. They've not been beaten. So that is a challenge. But I can see them going there and getting the result. I can also see them going to Cardiff and winning. Cardiff beaten at home today by Sunderland. Their season's going to fall away to nothing. So the next two games is an opportunity. The Leeds game, they will be heavy underdogs. Leeds will be massive favourites. Of course they will. But this is the type of game where I wouldn't rule out City going and get something, and it would just be typical if they were to go to Leeds on Saturday and win. On Monday night and win the game, which is great, which would be wonderful, and it would set them up perfectly for Cardiff. But for me, the bigger concern is not what happens at Leeds, not what happens at Cardiff. It's what's happened here, and it's now one win in 11 league games at home. That's if you factor in the Birmingham game, which I guess in the FA Cup is relevant. 12. The home form is going to cost them. If they don't get in the top six, it will be what happened here is what cost them. They are not good enough here. They don't win enough football matches. They don't score enough goals. And that is going to be the problem. If they don't get in the top six, we'll all sit back at the end of the season, well, the MKN Stadium. That's where the problem's been. I don't know why. It's the acid question. It's the question we're all asking. There's only so many times I can go to the players and go, "What's up, lads? What's the crack? Why playing in front of 24,000 people at home, sold out crowds? Can you not deliver? Why can't you perform? Because they're not performing. The rest of the game was great. Yeah, they beat Millwall, but that's one win this year at home. You'd have to go back to Blackburn just after Christmas to find the last home win, apart from the Millwall game. One win at home in 11 games isn't the form of a team that gets in the playoffs, and it is a problem. And I don't, I'm not a football manager or a coach, so it's not. All we can do is comment on it and say what we see, and there is a fundamental problem at playing here. They cannot find a game plan to break teams down. They seem intent on trying to walk the ball into the goal. And let's be fair, no team in the Championship is going to come here and go, okay, then off you go. It's going to score 4 or 5 goals. It's just not going to happen. They've got to find a way. They've only got 3 home games left now. Middlesbrough, QPR, and Ipswich. They aren't going to get in the playoffs unless they start. The time's running out. We can keep talking. We can keep trying to. I want to be positive about the team. I've really enjoyed watching them at times this season. There's been other times at home where it's been a really hard watch, and that was one of them. We're desperate for them to do well. We really want. Liam's a really likable guy. The players are. They work so hard. They're a good group of players. You want them to do well. You can't not like them. They're great. But you also have to be fair. You also have to say, as you see it, be objective. And ultimately, their performances throughout the season at home, I'm not just talking in the last 4 or 5 games, Leicester aside. I'm talking right from the start of the season. They have not been convincing at home. You can, on one hand, you can go Sheffield Wednesday, thrashed them 7 or 8. They played well against Blackburn, beat them, scored 3. The Cardiff game before Christmas 3, the Rotherham game. But apart from that, struggled at home, and that is a fundamental problem. So they have to find a way. Middlesbrough next up at home, and then QPR. Again, 2 games they have to win. Who knows where they'll be in the table by then? Who knows what points total they'll have by then? Jordan, I agree. Look, the manager is going to get stick. He's the guy in charge. He's in front of it. He picks the team. He does the tactics. He sets them out to play like that. I don't. It's not my job to stick up for Liam Senior. I'm not his PR mouthpiece. What I struggle to understand though is that Liam is sending out his team today and saying, lads, when you get in around the penalty box, don't shoot. Let's do an exercise. When you get around the penalty box, let's pass it 25 times, and then we'll try and have a shot. That isn't the reality. So I don't know. I think it's a psychological thing, and it's in the players. I don't think it's in the management. I think the manager sends a team out. He's gone with a striker. Everybody's wanted him to go with a striker. He's gone with a striker today. He's gone with Philogene, Carvalho, Zaruri. I think, to be honest, if you polled the supporters before the game, I think paints with that attacking lineup. I don't believe he's saying he's sending his team out there not to create anything and not to shoot. I don't believe that. I just think there's a slight psychological issue when Jaden gets the ball, just have a shot. He's twisting, he's turning, he's trying to flick. Just have a shot. But we can debate that all night long. Ultimately, something at home is not working, is it? And that is, unless that's cracked, they're going